You're listening to the Paul Higgins podcast for SaaS consulting partners ready to scale beyond six figures without more work or a bigger team. Let's dive in. Here's the reality most consultants face. Your cold outreach is getting ignored. You're sending perfectly crafted emails and connection requests, but decision makers are drowning in hundreds of messages daily. Your 10% acceptance rate on LinkedIn reflects what everyone's experiencing. The great ignore is real and live today. But what if I told you there's a proven way to flip those numbers? What if I could move you from 10% to 50% acceptance rates, not by working harder, but by working smarter? I'm sure you haven't heard that before, but this one is true. Hi, I'm Paul, and welcome to my podcast, episode number 633. In today's episode, you're going to learn first the warm-up formula that 5x'd reply rates in a controlled test of 1,000 prospects, and why 15 to 20% of warm prospects actually reached out first via DM, which is brilliant. Second, how to build a systematic approach to social selling that doesn't rely on just being genuine advice, but actually works to scale for your team. And the third, the strategic difference between commenting on mega influencers versus niche creators, and why the latter delivers exponential better results for your pipeline. Today's guest is Oleg Sobolev. He's a former strategy consultant turned SaaS founder who built Extrovert after seeing how traditional outreach was burning trust instead of building it. His platform helps B2B sales teams drive pipeline by showing up consistently and authentically on LinkedIn, turning social watching into a systematic revenue engine. If you're tired of being just another name in someone's DM pile, this conversation will change how you think about building relationships that actually convert. Brilliant to have you here, Oleg.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
We've had a couple of conversations off air, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I have been using your product, which we'll talk about more in a moment. But why don't we kick off with who is your ideal client and what problems you love to solve?
Currently, we serve mainly SMBs. So the persona is the founder or a VP sales. And what we do is we build the product to nurture your customers with AI for LinkedIn. Yeah, we just help to increase reply rates if we do prospecting, and we help to nurture your audience like existing pipeline.
Yeah, and I've heard two category terms, social watching and social listening. I'm assuming social watching is more factual based, but what do you call the category that you're in?
It's actually an interesting question because I don't believe that we have the category. It sounds like a nightmare for founder. We invented our own category. It's VC people don't like when you say that, but it might be the case. I think the closest one is maybe social selling because, we have really social long-term approach to prospecting and sales. But the term of social selling is a bit, it's a bit old and it
Yes.
has some implications around it. Like it's hard to do. It's not really working. So I don't know. Maybe the closest one is social selling.
Yeah, well, I know for me, when I'm talking to people, I call it social watching because effectively that's what I'm doing. I'm watching and commenting on posts. And if one of the biggest stats that hit me when I first went to your site and sort of did some research was the warm-up formula, right? You were saying that if you go and like and comment on people's posts and then you send a connection request, you're likely to move from 10 to 50% acceptance rate. And that blew my mind if I've got those stats right. So firstly, have I got those stats right? And then if that is the truth, let's sort of dive into that.
Yeah, it when we first measured this for ourselves, it was super surprising for me as well. So what we did is we just made an A/B test. We ran our own outbound as well for Extrovert, and we have three personas. So CEOs, lead gen agencies, and we have P sales or CROs. And We just made the A/B test for 1,000 prospects. Everything
Yes.
else was the same. Like the message was the same, the lead source was the same. The only thing which was different is that, well, half of them we warmed up before we reached out. And yeah, the reply rates were like 5x better. It was 10% versus like 50.
Yes.
And it was like very surprising for me to learn about it as well. I think the reason for this is just, very simple because people are tired from transactional sales. It's like people talk about this all the time. Some people call it the great ignore. I even heard the stats that the average exec gets like how many, like 100 cold emails per day. They
Yes.
also get cold calls, they get cold emails all the time. And just, I think the biggest unlock in this, even if we don't go to, just comments or posts and things like that, if we stay on high level, the biggest unlock is the time.
Yes.
And the time can be either your best friend or your worst enemy if you play it right. So I think the biggest factor here is just so that the prospect perceive it not as a transactional. The prospect should perceive it as you reaching out, genuinely caring about them. And maybe sometimes the best way when they don't even know that you are reaching out to them.
Yes.
Because what was really cool about that stats is that about 15 to 20% of prospects actually DM'd us first, even before we had a chance to, send the first DM. Yeah, that's because they were thankful that we commented on their posts. That's because they knew us from our content that we posted and from our comments. It wasn't even like the outreach. It was some different process in their heads.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes it effective.
So why do you think social selling then gets a bad name? We sort of mentioned it before, but if you're getting success like you've got out of the 1,000, I know that ongoing clients are still getting success. Why do you think social selling's got a bad name in the past?
Well, I wouldn't say it's kind of bad name. I would say it's like something like healthy food. Like people know they need to do this. People
Yes.
know it's very hard, and people know that they have activities that can bring instant results. You can cold call and you can book meetings today, right now, right? It's really hard to do at scale. And also, it's really hard to do without the system because if you have like even several SDRs, or even if you're a founder and if you're doing this, you can win it. Some people have naturally, better capabilities to do this. Some people just, go with the flow and they are really good at it. Some people are not. But to do it consistently at scale, you need to have some kind of system. And I think most advice that I see about social selling is just be genuine, be yourself. Don't treat your prospect as a line in your spreadsheet, something like that. That can work for some people, but first of all, I think that for this to actually work, it should be more like a science, not an art.
Yes.
And second of all, it should be set on the company level. It shouldn't be something personal that your, rep or SDR invents because there is actual workflow that you can follow. And whether you are using some kind of tools or not, you can do it completely manually. But there should be some kind of workflow that you follow.
Yeah.
That's my point of
And
view.
look, certainly from my experience, it's got better, my news feed in LinkedIn, but it's still not fantastic. And it's certainly not it's not self-directed, right? It's basically what the algorithm throws. And then the other thing is I've tried in the past, I can't remember the guy's name, it's a Dutch name, but he said, you basically bookmark all your key influencers or your prospects, and then you bookmark their URLs and then you go to their posts each day, right? But it just never worked. And it never worked one after the other and it was clunky. So, when I started using Extrovert, it was like, oh God, like this is so much easier. It's like all the posts from the people that I want to see is in front of me. And at worst, like this is the absolute worst case scenario, is I get to read some great stuff that I want to read, right? It's so
Yeah.
fantastic that you've got a curated news feed that you actually want, right? It's one knock-on effect or side effect, I think. It's not the key reason we're using it, but it's It's fantastic. And then I think the other thing is that LinkedIn algorithms got more and more difficult. I remember a day when I used to get grumpy if I got 30,000 views to a post, right? It was like, oh, I've had a bad day. Now, if I get 3,000 for the week, I've had a good week, right? And I talk to a lot of people like yourself that is listening or watching it. This is across the board, right? And I'll get your perspective on that in a moment. But I think, therefore, if you're getting 5 or 6 comments a post and you're getting 600 views and someone does give you a constructive comment, sure, you're going to look at it and you're going to look at their profile, right? It's just human nature to do it, right? Because we're all looking for some validation that we've spent. Now, I know with AI, we're spending less time creating posts than what we used to, right? But you still, I call it red pen, black pen. The black pen is the AI is writing it. The red pen is you're doing your final edits, but it still takes your time, right? If you're the founder and you're a thought leader, which most of you are, I think they're just some of the natural things that this product goes to. I know that I said around, the learning and also the nurturing. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, it's super interesting to kind of reflect on what you've said. I was obviously, as a founder of the product that interacts with the LinkedIn feed and all these, comments and posts, I try to reflect about how this works. And what's interesting that I noticed recently is that LinkedIn feed is not designed for us to, sell and communicate effectively.
No,
It's a social network.
correct.
It's the actual purpose of it for us to spend more time on it, scrolling. It's optimized for time spent. It's like TikTok. The other angle of other products like maybe Sales Navigator is more inclined to, organized workflow where you can work with your leads and prospects, but it's usually, one by one.
Yes,
Even like take a very simple example, like you have two prospects. One prospect posts once per month, the
yes,
other one posts once per day.
yes,
How do you comment consistently on their, posts? You want to comment once per week for both of them. You don't want to stalk the guy, who posts once per day. It will be a bit weird and a lot of work from our side, which we don't need. By default, LinkedIn doesn't give you this capability.
yes,
The other thing that you mentioned, and I completely agree, that everybody who will receive a comment on their post will probably check your profile. And I would even reinforce this point. I would even say that non-professional creators are a really good target for this. Because think about it, like most decision makers, most CXOs that you sell to, they are not very good at LinkedIn. I mean,
yes,
they are not professional. They don't have a lot of engagement on LinkedIn. And sometimes they post really good stuff. Sometimes the actual content is really good,
yes,
but maybe they don't know how to write hooks. They lack consistency, and that's why they don't have, 100 comments. They have two from their own team,
yes,
and they will appreciate people just, saying something valuable under their post. And it is a good pattern interrupt because they receive hundreds of DMs, they receive hundreds of cold emails, but they receive zero comments. If you are
yeah,
there, you will be noticed. It might feel weird, and it's actually was a revelation for me when I was looking at broader LinkedIn data, how people comment to train our AI.
yes,
What shocked me is how there are not a lot of people who comment outside of their circle.
yes,
Most people stay in their circle. Most people comment only on people who they know personally. Like, great job, John. Congrats with your new role. Like, I loved the product. By the way, nice to meet you last month. But people almost never on the large scale comment on, a broader audience. And this is a big opportunity. If you do that, this might give you an insane edge, I think.
yeah. And I think there's a huge multiplier effect, right? Like, always like one of the key things I talk to my clients about, and you've probably heard me on the podcast say it, is, strategic partners play wholesale, not retail. And what I mean by that is retail's where you got to do all the cold outreach, you got to do all the paid ads or whatever. wholesalers where you go to a strategic partner and effectively you leverage their relationship. I think the multiplier of that is if you've got someone who's very influential within your industry, you can then go and comment on their post, and all of a sudden you're in their world. So you're leveraging off their network. You're leaving a really informed comment. And I got to say, it's probably 80-20. So at the moment, what the AI creates is a comment that I'm 80% really happy with. I just normally tweak it, right? Just small little tweaks. But the comments are really insightful. Like I go, yeah, okay, that's probably better than what I would write on a lot of occasions. And then I get into their news feed and, I've commented, and then it's the multiplier effect. So that's certainly one on influencers. Is there any tips you've got on influencers and commenting and liking on influencer posts that you think we've missed?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of advice, like general advice on LinkedIn, like go comment on big influencers and be noticed. I think that the devil is in the details.
Yes.
So first thing, what I believe is that actually niche influencers with fairly low, like maybe moderate amount of engagement work much better.
Yes.
Because if you go and comment on some big guy with, 2,000 comments, big chances you're going to be buried in those comments. And
Correct.
most of those 2,000 people will be the same people seeking for exposure. And
Yes.
most of those 2,000, even, 10 or 20, 30,000 people who watch this post, they also will be seeking for exposure because this is how this flywheel, big influencer effect works. But there are a lot of people who post really valuable content who get 20 comments, 30 comments, 10 comments, 50 comments. If you follow several hundred of them in
Yes.
your niche, if you follow one, two, 300 of those people, this can be really, this can work really well. The other thing that I noticed is that if we do it strategically, the end goal is for their audience to pay attention to our profile picture and our headline
Yes.
and click on the profile. So
Yes.
that's the ultimate goal that we are trying to achieve. For them to do that, we need to give them reason. If
Yes.
we just approve the post, if we just say, in whatever language, even if the language is really friendly to creator or really creative, or even if we crack a joke, does it even give them reason to click on the profile?
Yes.
So what I think mentally is a good thing to do when you comment is to ask yourself, like, am I giving the audience a reason to click on my profile?
Yes.
And I think if you contradict a bit, or if you add something to the post a bit, or if you like give a hot take, this is a reason for one to do it well. The topic of the post need to match exactly of your expertise. Like for example, take my example. I
Yes.
follow about 300 creators from sales tech because I am building in the sales tech space and this is important for me. But I don't comment on everything they post about.
Yes.
If they post about cold email, if they post about cold calls, I don't really go there and comment because what can I say?
Yes.
I can, it's not my narrative. It's not what I preach. I preach the long game. And
Yes.
if I will contradict them every day because it's their topic, they are invested in cold calls, I would be, that guy who a party pooper or
Yes.
whatever. So it's not my thing. But when they post, say something like social selling doesn't work, you need to cold call instead, this is very good opportunity for me to go there and say, oh, I don't really agree because this and that and that. This is an example
Yeah.
that I
And,
can
and I
provide.
think you can definitely, I think that's a great idea. The other thing, which I don't know if your platform and you'll tell me, but I think sometimes if you ask a question that the authority can then answer, you're actually throwing it back to them, which is helping to amplify their experience because you're on their stage, right? So you don't want to be, like you said, bombing a photo, so to speak, right? You don't want to be the photo bomber. So I think it's also good to ask them an important question based on their post so it actually gets them to respond as well, which gets you more engagement. So is that possible to do? Does it AI come up with questions? Because I haven't seen any at the moment, or is that something that you'd have to do yourself?
It's a very good tactic, I think. I think it comes up with some important, me personally think that it comes up with some important caveat that I think you need to earn the right to ask the question. Because I am sure you have seen a lot of, AI automated comments
Yes.
where they just state an obvious statement,
Yes.
poorly written, and
Yes.
then they throw a question.
Yes.
And it's kind of feels weird that you
Yes.
are putting the weight to the post author and you don't give them, anything in return.
Yes.
But if it's a really well thought question,
Yep.
if you also add some, take that is really valuable to the discussion, maybe if you did it previously, you commented several times and the creator remembers you. I think this is a very good point. And it's also like a podcast. Like you are asking me questions now and
Yes.
you are amplifying, you are giving me the chance to express
Yes.
something that's important for me, hopefully the audience. I think it's kind of the best way if it's the two-way street. So if you can understand the post goal and help them to reach the goal, there are three people here in this room. So there is you, the author, and the
Yes.
audience. And I
Yes.
think all three are equally important.
Yeah. Well said. And I know that we're sort of running out of time. I know we could talk for a lot longer, but maybe we can get you back when we've got some more case studies of people that have listened to the podcast, reached out to you, because I know that we've got an offer at the end. And a reminder, you're listening to Oleg on episode 633. But I think how I'm using it, and I do use it daily, and it's quite addictive, actually. It's like once you start, you're learning, but you also, yeah, I'm really enjoying the process. Definitely influences. I think the other one is nurturing. So if you've got networks in your CRM that you've had a conversation at some point and you just missed it, right? Like sometimes we don't follow up, whatever reason the timing wasn't right, etc. I think that's another great way. Then you've got peers. So peers that you can build a really good network in the particular area that you're in. I think that's another good use case. You've got clients. So don't forget about your own clients, right? Because you can also make them look good to their prospects. So there's a benefit there. And also, as I mentioned before, strategic partners. I think it's really good to find strategic partners to play that wholesale rather than retail. Is there any use cases that I've missed there, Oleg, before we sort of go to the sponsors section?
No, I think you nailed it. What you can expect from it. So if you use it for outreach, you can expect better reply rate. If you
Yes.
nurture your existing pipeline, you can expect better close rates and just shorter sales cycles. If you nurture your not now prospects or icebox or whatever you want to call it, people who are fit for your ICP, but they are not ready to buy now, you can expect to reactivate some of them. If you comment on creators, you can expect some eyeballs on your profile. And if you build your mutual support circle, you can expect more comments on your posts.
Yes.
So you comment on some people posts, they comment back, you kind of support each other.
Yeah. And
Those are the main use cases.
the last thing which I learned from you is, don't be dead obvious. So don't comment on someone's post and send the connection request straight away. Best is to wait sort of 48 hours to send the connection request, so it's not embarrassing for you and the person that's receiving it. And hopefully they DM you in the 48 hours like you said before, Oleg. But what we're going to do now is take a short break, thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back with a rapid fire. Brilliant execution, terrible strategy. You can solve any client problem, but you're stuck in the same revenue patterns, same deal sizes, same time for money trap. I'm Paul, and I built and sold a 7-figure consulting business, but here's what I've learned mentoring other consultants. The real breakthroughs happen when you combine my experience with live problem solving of people going through exactly what you're facing now. In my group program, Steve works through his VA delegation challenge with Jed. Jed shares what's actually working. Andrew tests his pricing strategy with Casey, and Casey demonstrates his client onboarding system. Everyone's figuring it out together with my guidance based on what I learned the hard way. It's not theory, it's real-time strategic thinking with consultants in the trenches, plus someone who's already made the journey. Stop grinding alone. Start thinking strategically. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/WWM. That's paulhigginsmentoring.com/WWM. All right, Oleg, you ready for the rapid fire?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Sure,
4
let's do it.
questions, rapid fire responses, so we can get you listening or watching to go and check out the offer that we're going to give at the end. First one is, what's an AI tool that you're currently using other than Extrovert that has blown you away?
I'm using Cloud Code, and I'm not a developer.
Yes.
I'm really blown away by this, and I am doing so much stuff with it. And the weirdest stuff that I am doing with this, I am producing the marketing copy with Cloud Code. So I'm basically treating the copy as code. This blows my mind.
Yeah, brilliant. The next one, what's a go-to-market strategy that's worked well for you that's been the most surprising so far?
I would say acting on signals, social signals, and any kind of intent signals. Yeah, a lot of people talk about this right now, but I think it's super underrated. And if implemented right, this is a really good strategy.
Great. Where do you go to find more about growing your business? I know you said you're at your circle of 200 SaaS founders that you sort of follow. Where else do you go?
My favorite is underrated YouTube channels and
Yes.
podcasts. I
Yes.
think that YouTube shows that have less than 1,000 views is gold. Like the best conversations with the best founders happen with podcasts like yours. I think they deserve more attention, honestly.
Brilliant. Well, I'm all for that. And the last one is, what have you learned now that you wish you had known earlier when launching Extrovert?
It's my first business where I sell low ticket product with hundreds of users and people that I need to interact with. And I'd wish I knew how different people are,
Yes.
and they so that they have different user stories and user journeys. You cannot just win it with one-on-ones. You need to build systems to support them,
Brilliant.
to support the onboarding and their process and the learning curve and things like that.
Yeah, well, as I said, for you as a podcast listener, always appreciate it, but we're going to appreciate you with a great discount here. So if you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/extrovert, and it's just spelt like an extrovert, you will get 50% off the first month. So it'll be a direct link. We'll also put the link to that and also to the platform, which is goextrovert.com, in the show notes as well. But brilliant having you on, Oleg. I'm personally really enjoying the product, and please go and try it, because you're seeing my profile increase and I'm seeing a higher connection rate, which is some of the things that you spoke about. Thank you. And thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation. And thanks everybody who is listening for taking the time. Happy to be here.
So there you have it. The warm-up formula that's turning social watching into systematic revenue for consultants who are tired of being ignored. If you want to test this yourself, and I highly recommend it, Oleg's given you as a podcast listener 50% off the first month of Extrovert. Just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/extrovert to claim it. The link will be in the show notes as well. And remember, the best time to start nurturing relationships was yesterday. The second best is right now. Before your competition figures this out, it's best that you do it. Thanks for listening to this longer version of the podcast today, but one well worth it. See you next time on the Paul Higgins podcast. If you've got value today, hit subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and reach out. Let me know you've listened. I'd love to hear from you.